Good morning, class 11. How are you all doing today? I hope each one of you is doing fine. Everybody at your home is safe and you are being indoors, completing your work, following the schedule that has been given to you by the school, and are making most of this lockdown period in the most positive way as we can. So, this morning, as I had already told you, what are we doing? We have already finished the portrait of a lady, and as discussed earlier, today we are going to begin a new poem, and that is a photograph written by Shirley Tolson. Now, generally, when I begin teaching, I like to give details of the poet, what is her background, and all that. So today, just in brief, all you need to know basically is that Shirley Tolson, was a British poet, writer, very fond of writing. And this particular poetry is like an ode to her mother. She has written it in memory of her mother. Now, even before we go into the detail of what the poem is all about, let's just think about the title of the poem. It's called A Photograph. Now, each one of you is a selfie generation, right? And we are so fond of taking our selfies, of taking photographs, and just capturing moments. So why do we take photographs? What is the need of taking photographs? So if I would have asked you this question in the classroom, I'm sure there would have been several answers, and one of the most important one of those would have been that photographs are like capturing moments, and capturing moments which can be visited over and over again in future, which means we want to keep those moments with us forever. But now we cannot do that with time, because time flies, nothing is permanent, but we can do that with something called a photograph. So let's say if I took a photograph maybe 10 years ago or 5 years ago, so today if I see it, I will be living that particular moment in the same spirit as I would have lived it 5 years ago. So that's the beauty of a photograph. That's why people take photographs, yes, and we want to capture those moments forever. We don't want to let go of them. That's why these days for anything and everything हम क्या करना चाहते हैं, और अब तो selfie generation है आप लोग, you all have mobile, immediately we want to click photos and we want to keep them with us forever. So similarly, Shirley Tolson talks about this particular photograph of her mother and memories of her mother which are very, very close to her heart because she has lost her mother. And this photograph of her mother is like way back of her mother's childhood, when the mother was barely 12 years or so, and they had gone for a beach holiday, and she was standing with her cousins, and it's a lovely photograph at the beach. So now when she sees this photograph, she is reminded of that particular day as her mother had told her or narrated to her when she was born, and when the mother discussed that particular photo with the poet. So a lot of memories are associated with the photograph of the poet's mother. So this photograph clearly tells us about the poet's mother's childhood, and also for the poet it is important because her mother, when she took this photograph in her hand and she told her daughter, okay, look, this was how I looked maybe when I was 12 years old, or we had gone for a beach holiday, or this is how they had dressed us, and she is just laughing through it. So here we see the poet remembering her mother and looking at the photograph and trying to recall the moments which have gone in time. Now, of course, when the poet Shirley Tolson, she is writing the poetry, when we are reading it, Shirley Tolson is also not there, but then all the memories and all the feelings, all the emotions are captured in that one photograph. So when you go through it, when you try and understand this poem with me, you have to understand it from a dual point of view. The first point of view would be of finding out the importance of a poem, and particularly of a photograph, that what's the importance of a photograph. And the second one be to understanding the pain of this girl, the poet, who has lost her mother, and now through this particular photograph she is reminded of her mother's childhood and the time that she had spent with her when she was alive. So I would say that, it's like in the memory of her mother that she has written. And once we are through with this explanation, I would also want you to write a few lines on your mother, okay? And that is what we call ode, O-D-E. So I want each one of you to write an ode to your mother. Now what is an ode? Ode is like, when you are dedicating a few lines to somebody. तो उसको literature में, English literature में बोलते हैं writing an ode, okay? So once this poetry is through, I want you to get out your writing skills out and write few lines as an ode to your mother. Okay, so that's the task that we have in hand. So let's begin with the poem. It's already time. Get your pencils, grab a register, bring your book, and let's begin with the poetry, A Photograph by Shirley Dawson.